All right, guys, we are back, and I know you're enjoying my interview with the Honorable Jeremy Bowie, newly appointed judge of the 50th District in Pontiac, Michigan. He is with us on this week's Black History edition of the Thinking Out Loud radio show. Guys, we're so very excited to have him on the show. And in the last segment, we were talking about what's happening in the state of Florida, and just really, I just really enjoy chopping it up with Jeremy because he is he's well adept in when it comes to this political landscape, and of course he's in the legal profession, so it's always good to talk to him about some of the legal ramifications of legislation like this. And speaking of that, we're going to jump into another matter that has caught the nation's attention yet again, unfortunately, of because of this growing epidemic of police brutality. And it's sad now that it involves five black police officers that are now the criminals in this particular case. So right out the gate, I want to know, what are your thoughts on the five police officers that killed this young man, Tyre Nichols, senselessly during a routine traffic stop a few weeks ago? The officers have been fired and charged with the murder of Tyre Nichols. Do you think that they will ultimately be convicted and indicted?
I think they will. The it's the body cam is just ridiculous. I watched it. My friends, we usually sit around. We're pretty. We talk about world events. They couldn't even watch it. It was troubling to them. You know, he gets stopped for reckless driving. And when you see the body cam of the officers approaching the car at the intersection, now, there's two different scenes. There's an section scene, and then there's one on that street corner where the camera was when he was about, I think, 100 feet away from his house. That first scene, I mean, they came in hot, like, it's a reckless driving. It's not reckless driving causing an accident, causes serious injury or body impairment or death. It's just a reckless driving.
Right.
And they come in hot as if he's a fugitive for a murder
From
or
justice.
right. And so, I mean, they were mad. They opened the door, they snatched him out, you know, language, talking about they're going to kill him and, beating him. And he's like, I'm already down. Chill out. What are you doing? He's like, I'm already down on the ground. And at that point, they can arrest him. Then they take the tasers out and fire at him. And I just think he did what any normal person would do. When you're in a situation of life and death, you're either going to fight or flight. Mm-hmm. And he flighted. He ran. He's like, I don't know if I'm going to survive this. And unfortunately, later on, he didn't. And so now we get to the scene where, so one of the cams is right there perfectly on the corner. It's funny how these cameras are in the community to police us, but really really be policing the police. Yeah, and so, you see him on, you see Tyre Nichols on the corner, and you see two officers, I think, was wrestling with him, trying to arrest him. They were, roughing him up, but they weren't beating him. Then you see one officer come out around the car and just kick him 3 times. And then you see another officer comes with the nightstick, and just beats him on the arm multiple times. They stand him up, and then one officer, I punched him at least 4 times. I believe there was a 5th time that sent him down to the ground. They absolutely deserve to be charged and face justice. Black, white, Asian, Indian, Mexican, Puerto Rican, I don't care who you are. They beat this young man. He was what's so sad about all this, Michael, is when George Floyd died, he was screaming out for his mother.
Right.
She was in heaven. When he was getting beat, he was screaming out for his mother. I sat back and I thought, like, there is a critical relationship of Black moms and Black sons. Mm-hmm. That relationship is critical. It really doesn't have nothing to do with the beating, but the fact that he was calling out for his mother.
Right.
to his mother, and she was less than 100 feet. I bring it up because I saw an interview where she said, "I failed my son.
Yeah.
He was calling out for me, and I failed him." Like, absolutely, those officers should be charged. And if and this was a special unit. To me, a special unit
Scorpion
means
unit, from what I
right.
understand. Right.
Scorpion unit means these are folks that have a little more training or a little more skills than what the others had. If this is what Memphis has to offer, Memphis is in trouble.
Yeah.
They're in trouble. The city's in trouble. So, they absolutely should be fired and charged. And that family should bring one of the largest lawsuits in the history against the Memphis Police Department.
I agree. And when you talk about the interview of Tyree's mother, she even said she felt she had a stomach ache around the time where her son was being uh, beaten and brutalized by those five police officers. And I don't know if there's some kind of spiritual connection, mystical connection, with that, with the mother and her son in some way. Who knows? God could have put that in place to let her know that her son was in trouble. But I did see in the video he hollered out, "Mom," and I didn't know that that he was 100 feet from his house, less than 100 feet from his house, and that just again gives me chills, especially given the fact that these five police officers share the same color as the young man that they are beaten and brutalized. They treated him like an inanimate object. I saw a headline where they treated him like a pinata.
Yeah,
They
yeah, I
they
saw
kicked
it.
him like a pinata, and um, it's sad to see that in one photo of those five officers when they were in uniform. They show them all smiling, and then I see the photos that they released after they had been officially charged. None of them are smiling, you know, because now the reality of what they just done, they're faced with. And I really believe the book should be thrown at them. They should uh, not just be fired, charged, but definitely indicted and go to prison for life, because this young man did not deserve to die like this. This was definitely, excuse me, this was definitely not the way that traffic stop should have gone. Again, us talking about police reform, criminal justice reform, and there is still a George Floyd a George Floyd justice bill that was passed in the House, but it's still sitting on the table in the Senate, has not yet been made into law. So you know that is, again, I think, problematic. But even I want to take this even a step further than just police reform, because I read a tweet recently that I thought was very, very interesting. And the tweet was, and I can't remember exactly who it was from, but I was floored when I read it. It said, "The system isn't broken, it's fixed. The system isn't broken, it's fixed." And then I also remember director Ava DuVernay saying something similar to this when she directed the movie about the Exonerated Five and in New York. And she said the system doesn't need to be reformed, it's doing what it's supposed to be doing. And these are similar characterizations of the American criminal justice system. But I want to know from someone that's actually sitting within this system, do you agree with both of these assertions of the American criminal justice system?
I believe the system is not broken. I believe there's a fix in it, and I agree with that statement because when you look at the American criminal justice system, when done right, when the police show up and they do their job of getting the evidence, getting the witnesses, chain of custody is tight. They're not manipulating the scene or the evidence, and it gets to the prosecutor. They they file the right charges. You know, they not try to pad the charges up. It gets to court and it runs smoothly through court and you get the conviction. That's what it's about. Or when things are done right and somewhere in that system, someone says, oh, this was a violation of your Fourth Amendment right to search and seizure, or this is a violation of your Fifth or Sixth Amendment right. When that system catches that and kicks it, that's another way that the system, when done right, works. But Ava DuVernay say, it is not broken, it's fixed. Somewhere in there in the system is someone knows something is wrong, but they won't do anything about it. Or that they know that there's some way we're policing our communities that focuses on this set of people, and we're not going to talk to them about it. We're not going to figure out the issue. We're just going to keep incarcerating them, keep jamming them up, keeping them in the system. And so it takes, once again, oversight. We have to start policing our communities. Like, we got to start having police boards that say, hey, this officer acting wrong, this one needs to be done, or this officer needs to be within this community. So that way they know the community. So when for example, Jane down the street is having a mental health issue, or LaQuisha down the street having a mental health issue, not to shoot her, not to slam her, but to work with her, to call in that social worker that works at the police station or that psychologist to come down and talk to the person and de-escalate the situation, and then build a community-based communication about her with the other neighbors in the neighborhood. So when we get called on and say, hey, LaQuisha is out, if she's in my yard, I don't really want her in my yard, the police come and say, hey, with the social worker. So it's not fixed. I mean, it's not broken, but it's fixed. And so I think it takes people to really want to make it happen. That's it. Like that George Floyd bill, if people want it to happen, it will happen. And so I agree once again with what she stated. But it takes change agents who really want to make change. We have to push individuals like that in the system.